Live streaming is on.
Hello everyone, welcome to the SEGI webinar. My name is Yase and I am from SEGI University from Kota Damansara, and I am host for this season. Today we have two topics. First, evolution of accounting and what to expect, and one more topic, business relation need or want. We are very lucky today. We have our lecturer, Miss Hannah and Romana from SEGI University. Hello, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Hannah. Hi, Romana. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, we're good.
All right. All right. Firstly, we start with Hannah. Hannah, can you introduce yourself and your experience in SEGI?
Sure.
All right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah. I'm a lecturer from Faculty of Business, Accountancy, Communication, and Hospitality Management. So it's a very long name, so we call ourselves as Fallback. All right. So I am teaching in sort of like the business stream, okay, business and accounting stream, where I'm technically teaching accounting, auditing, business ethics, business management, and also financial accounting.
Wow.
I am a major in accounting and finance.
All right.
Yeah, so I started my career by working in the industry first, okay, as an auditor and also in the accounting department or finance department. Yeah, and then about last 3 years, I decided to jump into the academic industry. So yeah, here I am now.
Thank you, Hannah. How about Romana? Can you introduce yourself and then your experience in SEGI?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I am Rubana. I'm the Deputy Head for the Faculty of Business, Accountancy, Communication and Hospitality Management. I have been at SEGI for 6 years now.
Okay.
6 years, yes. And I joined the academic industry 13 years ago in a different institution as a lecturer. And my area of expertise is in accounting.
All right.
So when I joined SEGI, I also taught accounting before I got promoted to become the deputy head.
All right. Thank you. Okay. We start with Hannah first. Hannah, I thought you have the slide, right? Slideshow. Can you share with us your slide?
Of course, I'll share my slide now, where I'll be explaining about the evolution of accounting.
All right.
Okay. Hold on. Can see the slide now?
Yeah.
Okay. So today I will be explaining a bit about evolution of accounting, where it technically started, how it technically started, and also what respect as a graduate from this sort of qualification as an accounting, business, and also finance student. Okay. This will be the agenda that I'll be explaining today, so we'll go through it one by one together. Okay, so if you do not have any idea on who this Italian guy is, okay, he looks like a priest, right?
All right.
Okay, he is the father of accounting. His name is Luca Bartolomeo. I don't know how to pronounce it in Italy. Okay, De Pacioli, but yeah, he's known as Luca Pacioli. Okay, so he's the father of accounting. He's an Italian mathematician. Okay, he's a collaborator with Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, and also an early contributor to the field, which is now known as accounting. He's the one who sort of like started producing books or publishing books about the double entry. If you've heard about the debit and credit, so he's the guy who sort of started publishing about the debit and also credit, okay, which is called as the double entry. Yeah. So he started in Italy, of course. Yeah, in the Europe. He is referred as the father of accounting and also bookkeeping. So bookkeeping is technically, sort of like recording all of the transactions of the business, where we call it as bookkeeping. Okay. So he's not the first person who sort of like published the double entry, but he's the first person who published the double entry in the modern world. Okay. So he's the second person who published the book, who published the work of the double entry system, and also bookkeeping in his continent, where in the Europe. Okay, so he dramatically the practice of accounting by describing the double entry accounting methods, where it's widely used in the part of Italy only by that time. Okay, in 14th century, 1447 during that year lah. Okay, so but there's this one section where he published, which is called a summer section, where we're not technically applying it today. Okay, where that sort of section is internationally used as an accounting textbook up to the mid 16th century. He started in the 14th, remember? So it's widely used up until the 16th century. Okay, so other than that, okay, most of the double entry accounting was remain unchanged for another 500 years, where from the book that he technically published. It's a very long time where people are still applying the rules that he published in his books for 500 years. Okay, so that's about the father of accounting, the father of accounting in the modern world. Okay, so next, what I'll be explaining is the history of accounting, or the timeline of accounting. Okay, so accounting has actually started during the Egypt and Mesopotamia time. Okay, because the archaeologists, they discovered an accounting on a clay tablet on the 3300 before century. Okay, clay tablet, what you can imagine is sort of like writing on a stone that sort of like look an iPad, but it's a stone. Yeah, okay, so what they what they sort of like keep track is on their businesses, the herd, and also the crop growth, which is now called as commodities. Okay,
Okay.
so the techniques that's demonstrated during this ancient time indicates that they only keep track on the stuff that they're sort of like not selling. It's not sort of like selling because we do not have a monetary system at that time. Yeah, so commodities now are known as a project or surpluses or shortage, as the price of commodities ultimately are determined by the supply and demand. So, meaning to say at that time, they just want to keep track on the supply and demand of the herd and also the crop growth. So, that is during the 3300. So, the accounting methods are not complicated at all. Okay, just the supply and also the demand, or commodities now that we call it in the modern world. Okay, and then we move on to the 13th century, or we call it as the medieval century. Okay, so at this time, we just sort of like started the monetary system. Okay, where merchants, that like before they started a monetary system, we're still using a barter system. If you've heard of a barter system, where you just exchange goods. Okay, if you needed sort of like you need meat, so maybe you just exchange that with rice and things like that. So that is called as a barter system. Okay, you're trading it with something else, with other products. Okay, so but in the 13th century, in the Europe, they want to start, using a monetary economy. So that is when the merchants then needs a bookkeeping to keep up with the multiple transactions that they have. Yeah, because there's a lot of transactions that are going on. You're selling items. In order for you to keep track on the item that you're selling, you have to have an accounting system. Okay, but during the 13th century, during this time, during the medieval time, they called it as medieval time, there's no sort of like a proper bookkeeping or double entry accounting system, because that only comes in on the 14th century when Luca Pacioli started. Okay, a proper double accounting system. I hope I'm clear on that, like on the two centuries of accounting. So I hope you can understand on how like the process has actually developed from sort of like a simple supply and demand transaction, to a monetary transactions. And now on the 14th century, not now, on the 14th of century, when Luca Pacioli came in as a father of modern accounting, he published a lot of books about accounting. He published a lot of books on accounting, where people are still referring to it up until 500 years after. Okay, so his books became the teaching tool during that century. Okay, and also reference text for the bookkeeping and also accounting. Okay, not only in Italy, not only in his continent, but it's also used widely internationally.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the 18th century, okay, when um, we've started the industrial revolution. Sorry, there's a typo that is supposed to be an industrial. Okay, when we've started the industrial revolution, where with the advances of corporations, investors, and debtors, where they had vested their interest in the company's results. They wanted to know, if this company is doing well, should we invest in this company or not? Okay, so during this time, it has already, sort of like spurred a need for more advanced cost accounting, which during this time, accounting has turned into a profession. Okay, because professionalization of the accounting profession has began in 1800. During the 18th century, it has started. Okay, so this is the era when they started to create a professional bodies known as the certified public accountants. The name may be different back then, but it's about profit, sort of like they do have a professional bodies for accounting. Yeah. So now, during the 20th century, the current century that we're in now, okay, accounting today, where like where, sorry, okay, where there's a lot of rules and regulations. There's a lot of rules and regulations, where there's a lot of accounting standards. Okay, so there's a lot of other accounting bodies here that regulating the accounting standards, the rules and regulations where everyone have to follow. Okay, so moving from the timeline of accounting, okay, so how has accounting changed since the invention of computer? So as I mentioned just now, at the 3300 before century, okay, accounting just recorded as such. You can see, it's just drawing on stones, drawing on clays, things like that, just recording if there's a supply or demand for the items that they needed for their day-to-day life. Okay, and then during the medieval century, or the 13th century before the industrial revolution, okay, when Luca Pacioli started with the bookkeeping or the double entry, okay, is where they do have a proper accounting system. They do have a proper debit and credit, okay, which is widely used all over the world at that time. Okay, but that time everything is still manual, because at that time the businesses are not as complicated as today. Okay, the sort of like basis of their business are not as complicated as today, like what we have now. Okay, so when we started the industrial revolution with the advances of the industrial corporation, during the computer, sort of after the invention of computer, and also invention of accounting softwares, yeah, so that is where it has became sort of like a proper recordings, where all of the transactions has to be recorded, and also there's also another body who will come in and check on the accounting. But at that time, during the industrial revolution, everything, even though we do have a computer, even though we do have a software, but not everything is sort of like computerized. We're still using a lot of papers and pens. Yeah, but with using a lot of papers and pens, there's still room for frauds. Okay, there's still rooms for people to manipulate the data, to create another data that's sort of like just on paper. The transaction is not true, it's not fair view. Okay, so that is where the world today, where you can just work from anywhere, everything is computerized, so there's lesser room, not it's sort of like saying it's 100% no room at all for fraudulence, but it's just lesser than when we're still using papers and pens. Okay, what I'm trying to compare with is there's a lot of scandals. If you've heard of the Enron scandals that happened back then, that is already in the 20th century. Okay, but during that time, the rules and regulations are not as today, because the rules and regulation, it keeps on changing. They keep on updating every day to make sure that the rules and regulations are getting better and better, so that the room for fraudulence are lesser. Okay, so Other than that, before, as you can see in the industrial revolution, where a guy in front of a desktop, scratching his head, so stressed about accounting, is because he have to, sort of like work just in the office, because all of the documentations are there, because everything is still on papers. Okay, but nowadays, especially during where we have to adapt during the pandemic time, okay, where everything is computerized, it makes it a lot easier for the accountants, for those working in the finance industry, to just work from everywhere, because what they're using are all softwares. Okay, and invoices and everything are, computerized. We're trying to lesser, using papers to avoid, fraudulence from happening. Okay, so moving on to modern accounting today. What does it mean by modern accounting? As I mentioned just now, you can just work from anywhere. You can just work from anywhere where you have internet connection with the software that you're using. Okay, because it's automated, flexible financial processes. Now we have, the system, the accounting system that we call as SEP. Okay, that is a system that's widely used everywhere. All organizations are using it. Okay, and even if there is a company on a smaller scale, okay, there's also, a system that you can just purchase it off the rack. Okay, but it is still automated. You don't have to sort of like scratch your head to think of, this has to go to this category, this has to go to this category, because everything is, by the system. Okay, other than that, with having everything on the system, with having everything online, okay, it's easier for investors to sort of like find information about the company that they're intended to invest on. Okay, and there's also cloud architecture, where you can, search for information on, the company that you're technically intended to invest on, and to choose what are the right company, that has, lesser um, scandals or fraud cases and things like that. All right, so once you graduate from accounting, finance, or business management, the program that we offer, the chances or the job scopes or the job options for you are wide. Okay, there's a lot of job options for you, where you can be a chartered accountant. But the process of being a chartered accountant does not stop at degree. You also have to have a professional qualification in order for you to be a certified accountant. Okay, but here in our school, what we offer, okay, if you are an accounting and finance student, after you graduate, okay, you will be exempted from um, the 9 ACCA papers, okay, and you will be left with only 4 ACCA papers, which can take you about a year to complete, in order for you to be a certified accountant. But of course, in order for you to be a certified accountant, you still have to, work in the industry, have 3 years working experience, things like that. Yeah. So
Okay.
then you can also be a chartered public finance accountant, not just work as, accounting accountants, okay, but also finance. Accounting and finance is a two different pathway, okay, because we do have like financial accounting, we have cost management, advanced accounting, and things like that. It's a two different pathway, accounting and also finance. Okay, so that is the difference about, taking bachelor in accounting and also bachelor in accounting and finance. But as of now, we are only offering accounting and finance. Okay, and we also have a chartered management accountant, company secretary, external auditor, which I started as an auditor, which, being an auditor will sort of like open your eye to a lot of industry that you're technically auditing. Yeah, so this will be sort of like the best option, which is why I put a star there. Okay, and then forensic accountant and also stockbroker. Yeah, so the options for your career are wide. Yeah, so all of the organizations needs an accountant. They have finance department in all organizations. So yeah, it's wide for you. You can just choose any industry you want. If you sort of like you like an aviation industry, okay, but you're not a pilot, but your interests are more in accounting and finance, but you love that industry, you can apply to Malaysia Airlines, but you work in the finance department in that sense. Yeah. So I think that is all from me on the evolution of accounting, from the started from how accounting actually started up until today, and what are the job options for you that you can choose from. That's all from me.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. Actually, we have a few questions to ask you.
Yeah,
What
sure.
is the evolution of accounting?
Oh, that is what I've explained just now on the timeline, on the history of accounting. That it actually started as a simple transaction where they're just monitoring what are the supply and demand. Because just imagine back then, the transactions are not as complicated as today. Okay,
Okay.
and then it goes on to the barter system. Okay, of course, the barter system, you don't have a complicated recording. Okay, and then they decided to go into the monetary transactions. So that is where they decided, yeah, we do have to have sort of like a proper transactions. Okay, and that is when the father of accounting came in on the 14th century. Okay, he published books about double entry bookkeeping, where it's used 500 years later. Okay, and then industrial revolution, okay, where we have started using computers after the invention of the computers. And then now during the modern world, where everything is just at the tip of our hand, we can just work anywhere because we're using internet, we're using software, we're not using sort of like papers anymore. Invoices are not sort of like being posted to your company. Everything is on the internet, on the computers. You can just work anywhere. Okay, and as I mentioned just now, if you graduate with this qualification, the options for you are very very wide, because all industry needs an accountant
All right.
and also auditor.
All right. So, number two, what different bachelor of accountancy and account and finance?
I've also mentioned about this just now, that accounting and finance are two different pathways. Accounting, it focuses more on financial accounting. It focuses more on auditing. Okay, where for accounting and finance, as I mentioned just now, it's a different pathway where we're also focusing on cost accounting. Cost accounting and financial accounting is two different things. If you want to know, you have to join our program. But
Yes.
okay, we do not offer bachelor in accounting anymore.
All right.
We are offering accounting and finance, which you'll be able to complete the program in just 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
And still be able to get the exemptions for ACCA in order for you to be a certified chartered accountant.
All right. And the last one, what the opportunity if a student finish the what the career opportunity if a student finish this program?
Oh, that is where I explain about the job options just now. Options are wide. Opportunities are wide as well. There's a lot of opportunities. Okay, you can be a chartered accountant. You can work in the finance department in any company. Okay, you can work in the account department. You can work as internal auditor, external auditor. You can also be the what else? The secretary, not secretary. What is it called? I forgot now. Yeah. The options are wide. Oh, you can be a company secretary. Yeah. Sort of like the person who registers the company, who manages the company's registration, things like that. It's an important part as well.
All right. Thank you, Hannah, for your slide and then your explanation for the accountancy. Okay. Now
Yazid, if I may just ask, Hannah, probably if I'm a student, right?
Yeah.
I would definitely want to know if I can do ACCA while I am studying degree at SEGI.
Mm, no, it will be a no, because you will want to apply for the exemptions. And in order for you to apply for the exemptions, you will have to submit your transcript. Okay, then you will get all of the exemptions that all of the degree students will get. Okay, not bachelor in business management, only accounting and finance. Okay, and then you will be left with only 4 papers. These 4 papers can be completed in 1 year only if you pass grade with the sitting. Yeah. It can be completed in 1 year and then work for 3 years, and you'll get your certified accountants.
Okay, yeah. But then students, I will just add to that. Students has an option. Okay, accounting and finance students have an option to actually join the Accelerate program at ACCA. So while they are still a student in SEGI, okay, in their last year, they can apply for this